What's going on, everyone? Uncle Charles here, coming at you from the REI Labs Real Estate Reimagined stream, where we discuss all things real estate and AI. And today, we're going to be talking about something different. We're going to be talking about fractured equity and what it means in the real estate world. It's not your basic wholesaling tactics. It's not guru type of information. It's not recycled PDFs. It's not Zoom courses and or any of the old recycled type of information. Fractured equity, guys. And what is fractured equity? Some people call it curative title. Some people call it partial interest. But it's a way to find properties that have problems or to find people's problems that other folks are not necessarily looking for. We're also going to be talking about RE. RE is the Artificial Real Estate Intelligence Mentor 24/7 system created by REI Labs. It's on the Apple Store and the Google Store for anyone to use and get an answer to any real estate question on any strategy that you are interested in doing or are actually doing. You can also get leads, comping, all kind of good stuff. So, what is fractured equity? What is it? This is about messy real estate deals. And what are we talking about when we're talking about messy real estate deals? We're talking about clouded title. How does that happen? We're talking about dead owners, heirs, probates, active, inactive probates, unfiled probates, liens, all type of liens, taxes, judgments, divorces. Guys, the list is endless. One of the key things to find these type of deals is focusing on properties with problems and focusing on people or family with problems. And that's where some people don't understand what is the difference. The difference is if you're looking for properties with problems, we're looking for properties that are behind on taxes. There's an estate that hasn't been cleared up. There's a lawsuit on the property, a list pendants. There's code violations, all type of stuff happening to that property, judgments, liens. So it's not that hard to find properties that have problems. But whenever you're looking for properties that have problems, what you're going to find is people who have problems. And determining what type of problems they have and what type of problem you're encountering with the property is going to determine whether you're going to do this deal or not. So what am I getting at? So for example, if you're dealing with heirs that have no idea about the property, don't care about the property, want nothing to do with the property and are willing to sign off, and you have a pretty light load on the problem issues for the property itself, pretty simple deal. If you have a pretty heavy load on the property side, maybe you got to clear up some judgments, you got some white title on an issue from 1952, or maybe you got some taxes that are kind of paid off, and the heirs to the property are pretty cooperative, that's where it gets a little tricky. You have to decide whether this deal is a deal you want to pursue. Now, again, if the heirs don't even want to play ball, then that's not a deal, guys. If you can't get a deal done either on the property side or on the heir side, then it's a non-negotiable. Okay. Now, if you got a deal, like I was saying, that's kind of hard to do, but you have heirs that are willing to play ball, maybe that's one that you go after, as long as the numbers make sense. Where it becomes hard is where you have, let's say, for example, a property that has outstanding taxes, maybe a couple of judgments, maybe there's some clouded title, and then you also have heirs that don't want to play ball. Everybody's dead. You can't find nobody. Maybe that's not a deal you should be pursuing. That's a deal that's going to go nowhere very fast, but it's going to take you time to figure that out. So the best thing to do is make a decision on not pursuing that deal. So these are the type of things that you have to deal with initially when it comes to pursuing fractured equity type of properties. They're very profitable. A lot of people get discouraged because they can take long. Some deals can take, look, you can in 30 days, but the majority of these deals can take anywhere from 60 to 90 days, depending on the situation. That's why I always tell folks who are pursuing fractured equity is to pursue the larger deals. It's just numbers. It's the same amount of work, $100,000 to $150,000 deals, and you're actively pursuing those deals. because it's clear. You can see the CAD, you can see the comps online, and you get that type of deal as opposed to, let's just say, pursuing a $500,000 deal. The numbers are a little bit larger, but it's the same problems. So in my opinion, it's much better to pursue the larger deals than it is to pursue the smaller deals, because I'd hate to get bogged down with a bunch of small deals and then they don't close and those hurt. If you get bogged down with 4 or 5 big deals and one closes, then you're still doing pretty good. So just think about it like that. So guys, what is fractured equity? I kind of went into that a little bit, but let me explain to make it a little bit simple. Fractured equity means property that has value, but it's fractured, it's broken up into pieces. There's maybe 2 heirs, 10 heirs, 20 heirs, God forbid, and everybody seems to own a little piece depending on where they fall in the the hierarchy of heirship. The farther removed they are from the original owner or the original family member, the less they're going to receive. So given the example that I'm giving you, let's just say you have four heirs that were direct descendants of their father. Their father passed away, he has 4 sons, and so they all get a quarter. But in the same example, let's say one of those brothers passed away and he left 4 children. Without those 4 children get a quarter of his quarter. And let's make this a little bit more complicated. Let's just say that one of those children passed away and had 4 children. That means that they get a quarter of their father's quarter of the quarter, and then it goes back up the line. That child gets a quarter of his father's quarter. So it can get very complicated. Even now, as I'm explaining it, I kind of trip myself up there for a minute, and because it's easy to get confused. And all states have similar but different type of succession guidelines. In Texas, it's pretty laid out. We actually have a cheat sheet that we can go by, and I want to say all states have that. But again, it's different for every single state, and it's different how they acquire the vesting. So, for example, in Texas, that's where I'm out of Texas. In Texas, there's a statute of limitations on the will. So if there's a will, it wasn't probated within 4 years, the heirs can then do affidavit of heirship. What people don't realize is if there was 4 children and everything was left to one child, and after 4 years, now all 4 can get vesting on that property. And that's usually done very easily by way of affidavits of heirship. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Or you can subscribe to REI Labs. There's a codex there that breaks the whole fractured equity down, and there's a section in there that breaks the whole heirship succession down. So you can definitely look into that. But that's with Texas. It's pretty simple. Should you use an attorney, not an attorney? Some people ask me. Look, I'm not an attorney. I've been doing this for a long time. I will tell you that most attorneys are going to tell you to use an attorney. I'm not going to say they tell you that because they're going to make money, but they do make money. And what I'll say to you is this. If the will's more than 4 years old in Texas, man, it's not that hard to use a title company to get affidavits of heirship done. And then everybody's vested, everybody has a right, everybody can sell. And where this fractured equity strategy really takes hold is in understanding how you can purchase people's interest in the property and then basically pick a fight with the heir who doesn't want to sell and or sue the other in absentia if they can't be found. So there's stuff that you can get into to get full. I'm not going to discuss that here today. I'm going to be talking about fractured equity here for the next 2 weeks, doing these lives on YouTube and Facebook. And the reason for that is because REI Labs, which is the creator of RE, the first and only 24/7 AI real estate mentor, has created a codex. And the codex has to do with all things fractured equity. And it's a really great system to take somebody in days from knowing nothing about fractured equity to pretty much being able to start looking for deals. And if you can't get it over the hump, partner with folks to get those deals done. Back to what it is, man. Usually how equity is fractured is because somebody passed away. Somebody's passed away and they didn't have the foresight, or for whatever reason, didn't take care of what was going to happen with that property. And so what happens is a lot of times family members, as some family members usually do, they start to So if you have somebody that passed away in 1965, for example, and brothers and sisters have gone their own way, and maybe they're not talking to each other, they get displaced, they get a lot of distance and time between them. That's where it can get difficult. That's why we call it fractured equity, because you might have somebody that owns 25%, another person owns 50%, another person owns an eighth, and your job is to figure out whether this is a deal you want to pursue. Is this a deal that you want to spend time on? Do you want to completely underwrite the deal and find out who all the parties are? And guys, this is before you even make a decision, or forgive me, this is before you even know whether you're going to make money at it. In other words, will these people even sell? So there's a way to underwrite these files for you to make a decision whether you want to go down that rabbit hole or not. And that's something that we're going to be discussing here live on these streams. And the purpose of these streams, just so we're clear, is because we want to introduce to you, if you're interested, is the REI Labs Codex for fractured equity, and also in conjunction with Ari, the AI real estate AI mentor that comes with the Codex, that really speeds along your ability to learn this strategy and others. There's other codexes coming out from wholesaling subject to, creative financing, fix and flipping, and novation. Those are all coming also. The objective for REI Labs is to collapse time and help people learn very quickly. In the end, you still have to do the work. If you don't put in the hours, you don't put in the time or the effort, you're not going to get any deals. That's just with everything in real estate or any business for that matter. Getting back to this, to the fractured equity codex, why most investors are missing this opportunity? Because they don't know. They're starting to get a little bit vogue. There's a few operators out here around the country, primarily in Texas, that are starting to talk a lot about fractured equity or partial interest, or some folks call it curative title, talking about this type of strategy. It's a lot of work, man. You really got to know what you're doing. And it can be very discouraging. Folks get discouraged very quickly when they're looking for partial interest deals. And the reason for that is because you can spend a lot of time looking at folks. You can spend a lot of time doing a lot of research on these properties, and they go nowhere. Maybe somebody doesn't want to sell, or maybe you find out that everybody's dead, and what do you do with that? So people get discouraged. But as I was saying earlier in the stream, if you concentrate on the bigger deals, even if you were to lose 4 out of 5 and you hit the 5 out the park, you're going to make great money. So that's my position on that. And the great thing at REI Lab is not only did they build the codex, but they built the ability to pull the leads, and so you can get that too. So again, why do investors miss these deals? Because they don't really understand how to get these deals over the finish line. They don't understand how to find these deals, how to underwrite these deals. And that is the issue. That is the issue as to why most people pass it up. And then the other reason too is that most folks are more familiar with wholesaling, subject to creative financing, innovation, fix and flipping. Those seem to be like the 5 entry, the gateway real estate strategies into the world of real estate investing. Some would argue wholesaling is not investing, but a lot of labor, which I would agree. But this particular type of strategy, it takes someone with a very strong mind and someone who's willing to learn how the whole process works, because there's the part where investors are not going to, most investors are not going to research. They have to learn how to spot and underwrite a file very quickly. So they have to know what they're looking at. And then, of course, they have to know how to maneuver the deal, how to negotiate the deal. What are we purchasing? How much are we purchasing of it? What is the exit to this negotiation if it goes our way? That is very big. That's different from, for example, when you get a contract on wholesaling for a certain number, you already know what you want to try to sell it for, and you know what your floor is, because you can't go below whatever you contract the property for. With fractured equity, is a little bit different, because you know what you want to sell it for. Of course, we all want to sell it for the most we can. It's a little bit different because you're having to take other things into consideration. For example, are you going to sue for reimbursement? Are you going to pursue a sheriff's sale? Are you going to do a partition? Are you going to sue for a partition sale? Are you going to have to maybe sue for a quiet title for some issue that happened 20 years ago? Are you going to have to do some work on this completely that's gone off the face of the earth? Maybe they're in some a different country. Maybe they passed away without no one knowing. And those are the problems that you're facing when you're dealing with fractured equity. But I guarantee you one thing, that the payout are far greater. So, and I want to say before 2020, before the COVID, the payouts on wholesaling were awesome. Me and my partner, we used to make on average anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 on wholesaling. That's not true today. And I don't care what anybody says. That's not true. That's not the average wholesale today. The average wholesale today could be anywhere from 18 to 20,000. But on fractured equity, even on small deals that I don't like going after, the average payout can be around 50,000. So it's a big difference. And if you have any interest in learning what fractured equity is, or again, what some people call it, curative title, partial interest, reach out to me, send me a DM. You can hit me up on any of my social medias, or head on over to REI Labs. They have a codex there called the Fractured Equity Codex. There's a page on there. You can go in there and read all about it and then decide whether it's something you want to get. It's very detailed. And over the next week, into next week, I'll be talking about that. I'll be showcasing it online and showing people really how easy it is to learn how to do this strategy. Let's look at my notes here and talk about another thing here. What does the codex do? Which is what I'm talking about. Guys, the codex is really cool, man. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show it to you. Let me go ahead and screen share here. Give me a second. I'm actually going to show it to you. And I know for a fact that there's no one in the industry that has anything like this. So, of course, this is the page you can go to read all about the fractured equity and what it is. But once you log in, guys, this is the codex. So, of course, you have Ari here, right? Ari is the AI that you can use pretty much to ask any question. It's a lot like any of the LLMs that you're used to, ChatGPT. And so Ari is a lot like any of the major LLMs. What is an LLM? The large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek. But this is Ari. It's artificial real estate intelligence. It was made specifically for real estate. Now you get that. But the codex is really cool because they have put the entire system in here, and you can resume where you left off. But the beautiful thing about this is everything that you can possibly imagine, over 200,000 words were put together to create the codex, guys. There's nothing in here that you will miss. Everything's in here, and you can study at your own rate. It's very easy to read. There's also appendixes. So these appendixes, they really get after what's going on in different states. It gives you a lot of tools to come in here and research. There's also a roadmap like, hey, I want to get started. So definitely you can come in here and learn how to do this business. You can also bookmark. And then, of course, there's the school. Guys, you can join the school. We just launched this a couple of days ago. There's 39 people in there already. And you're more than welcome to join the school for free. And there's a free lobby. You don't get access to the meetings. And the other thing about the school is for anyone who wants to join, there's no gamification. We're not interested in the gamification. We're not interested in that. What we're interested in is getting people knowledge. So if you join the school, it's primarily only for the meetings and the scheduling. The education is actually on REI Labs. The other beautiful thing about the Fractured Equity Codex, guys, it has a navigator. This thing is insane. It has thousands of questions and thousands of answers that you could come in here and just pretty much just learn very quickly. And it also, if you click here, it'll take you to the chapter that it corresponds with. So this is a really awesome tool, guys. It's called the Navigator. You can bookmark information. You can also, the really cool thing about this, you can also click this link here and you can bookmark, and you can just come to Ari, and we'll go ahead and open that up real quick. And you can come in here and just put the question there, let Ari do its thing, come back to the Navigator and be like, you know what? The Navigator's cool, but what I'm looking for is I have a word in my mind and I'm just not quite certain what that means. REI Labs built a lexicon, and this lexicon has every single term, alphabetical order, for pretty much every single term in real estate, guys. And the beautiful thing is you get an answer, and if it corresponds to anything in the Fractured Equity Codex, it'll take you there if you want to go there. They've also created another codex document library. So this pretty much covers 95% of every type of document there is around the nation. So that's another great thing that you guys can use to really learn very quickly. And if you had a question, of course, you could use Google or you can use AI, but it's all right here, guys. It's all right here in the codex, and it's really an awesome system. There's also an index. This index is really crazy. There's a subject to codex coming, and this index, what it does, it has everything you can think of, guys, when it comes to the fractured equity codex. Anything that has to do with curative title, anything that has to do with fractured equity or partial interest, it's in the index. You can learn very quickly. The objective for Aria Labs was, how do we get people to learn very fast instead of going through a bunch of endless Zooms? And how do we get them to learn very quickly? Here's Ari already answering a question that you put in there. That question came from the navigator. So maybe you didn't like the response or the limited response that you got on the navigator. You can just copy the link and go to Ari. It's going to give you a very detailed response. And so that's the benefit of having Ari. And the other cool thing about this system, guys, that REI Labs built, they built a stacker. So this is coming online here very quickly. So there's a stacker in this system. It's loading there. Getting back to Ari real quick while we let the stacker load. The beautiful thing about this is if you're reading through what Ari gave you, and for some reason you're like, what is this? You could always just click that, put it back into Ari, and let it do its business, and then you can come back to it. Here's the stacker, guys. So everybody gets the stacker. This is going to be going live. The stacker is going to be going live here this week. So it's not like a major stacker where you're stacking 10,000 leads. It's more at a time. And what are we stacking? We're stacking, let's say, code violations with tax delinquents or tax delinquents with estates and list pendants. That's what we're stacking. Now, the beautiful thing about Ari is Ari gets people data. So Ari gets people data. Here it is right here answering your other question. But Ari gets people data. I'll be demonstrating this tomorrow. If you're interested, you can definitely come online, and I will be demonstrating how Ari can get you tax data. Right now, in Texas, we pretty much got that on lock for tax delinquent. We just got Florida. We're working on Illinois. We're going to be bringing different states online pretty much every day now. And the objective is to get people live data, tax data, as opposed to all the stored data some of the other data providers provide. So in closing here, guys, this is just an introduction today. There's also a doc analyzer, a deal analyzer, and then there's a deal OS, the deal operating system. What REI Labs has built here is a way for you to be able to, let me take this off, underwrite a file, get all your documents read, and stack the file. And then the only thing lacking here is the skip tracing. So we're going to be adding a skip tracer also. So that way you can have everything in one system, underwrite, decide whether you're moving forward, get all your documents read, as opposed to you trying to read endless amount of documents and trying to learn that, all that stuff. And then, of course, again, the deal analyzes a deal, not a deal. Yes, no, pursue it, or pursue it your own with caution. And then, of course, the deal operating system, it's like a miniature CRM that allows you to export to your CRM. So these are the type of things that we're building at REI Labs. And I invite you guys to join. Send me a DM. There is a webinar that we do every other week where we go into a lot of detail about fractured equity and the codex. And then as we bring the other codexes online, for example, the subject to the wholesaling and other strategies, we'll be having webinars on those systems. And why are we doing this? What is this for? Of course, it's our business to bring you the educational systems that can allow you to learn very quickly. But at the same time, is to build a community where people are doing deals together, which is why the school was open. So guys, with that said, I'm going to go and land this ship. I promised myself I would keep these to 30 minutes. Today was just introductory into REI Labs, ARI, the Artificial Real Estate Intelligence Systems, and the first codex, which is the Fractured Equity Codex. Just wanted to talk a little bit about it. For the next few days, I will be going more in depth concerning the codex. And then once the next codex comes out, which I think will be subject to, we'll talk about that one. and we'll go in depth into that one, how it works and how you can get deals very quickly. And then, of course, the following one. And if you guys are interested in joining the school right now, even the free school, the free section of it, guys, you can go here and there's the school link. You can definitely go there and join. There's no cost just to be in the lobby. I invite everybody to come to the school. We're going to try to go very large. At some point, even if it's free, we're going to be doing some special stuff with you guys, giving you data, giving you information on where to get leads, and also giving you the opportunity to do deals with us. So go get into school if you're interested. If you're interested in anything REI Labs is doing, guys, let me get you the website there. It's right there streaming across the board. It's reilabs.ai. Go to that website, check it out. Tell me what you think. If you're interested in the codex, DM me. I can get you a deal. And I hope to see you there. If you're interested in joining any of the upcoming webinars, guys, please go to realestatereimagined.ai. There you go, guys. realestatereimagined.ai. It's streaming across the screen right there. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to show you what we're doing at REI Labs. Remember, the goal for REI Labs is to get information to you very quickly so you can get to doing deals very quickly, as opposed to months and months and months and months of paying different courses in different schools and reading endless amounts of information. With that said, guys, my name is Uncle Charles. I hope to see you again. I hope to see you every single morning. I hope you'll go to the REI Labs and join our webinars. With that said,